This is the Sioux Empire Podcast.
Episode 101.
Thank you. This is the Sioux Empire Podcast, episode 101. Featuring guest star Peter Pischke, episode otherwise known as One Summer Night.
A pathless wilderness, wild, rugged, that was a hardy frontier, far from the paths of civilization.
If you close your eyes, you can pretend it's North Dakota.
Where fortune beckoned with a glittering smile.
Well, have you seen South Dakota, John? They're insanely hot.
And life hung on the quickness of a trigger finger.
I will do my best to listen more intently.
The Sioux Empire Podcast.
Yeah, I can move over, whatever.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sioux Empire Podcast. I am your host, Robert Mailing. This is the Sioux Empire Podcast, the quirky but harmless podcast that's all about Sioux Empire news, comedy, music, and culture. Joining me, as always, is Mon Capitan, Seth Glover.
It is an honor to serve you. Oh, wait, no, I'm your captain. It's an honor to have you serve.
Well, you are a captain. You're like captain, my captain, but maybe I'm the admiral.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
Sorry, I've been watching a lot of Star Trek lately.
And I was going to say I bring the quirky, but not the harmless, but I think you... Anyway, we got Peter. We got Peter
Yay!
Hello.
On the green couch.
Yes, Peter is also with us here today. He is a candidate for the Sioux Falls School Board.
I am indeed.
The one person missing was Natasha, but as I recall, she's out...
She's doing missionary work, right? She's bringing the good news of Jesus Christ to children in Africa.
Or was it Asia? I'm not sure.
I think both. She's that good.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, that's right. Saturday, Chad. Tuesday, Nepal.
And then she got on her jet ski and went to Nepal.
Right.
It's hard to beat that level of dedication.
It is.
Natasha
it really
has
is.
It for spreading the good word.
Yeah. She's a very, very faithful theist. Oh, we're evil.
Such a good word. Good job.
Okay, so enough of our shenanigans here. We're gonna jump right into one of our favorite segments, Seth's bi-weekly book club.
What's that sound? It's the sound of Seth's Sioux Empire Podcast Bi-Weekly Book Club. The books aren't about the Sioux Empire, but Seth reads them in the Sioux Empire.
Oh, I just started recording now. Hey, gang. So about that video that I never promised you, you're never gonna get it. So on tonight's bi-weekly book club, Seth is keeping with that firm start the year off with some good solid short stories, and this week it is another one by Ambrose Bierce, and this one is called One Summer Night. It's dope, would be the fresh hip young way to describe this book. No, it's not. But my nieces would disagree. I wish I would have looked up the word count. It's a tiny, short story, but Ambrose just makes it so captivating. And with the first sentence, it's just like I need to read this. Need to read the rest of this. And I'll just read the first line. The fact that Henry Armstrong was buried did not seem to prove that he was dead. Proved to him that he was dead. He had always been a hard man to convince. Now, if I wouldn't have butchered that, you would have been captivated. But now you're stuck on how shitty of a reader I am. It's not my intent.
Seth read good.
Seth read good.
Seth read good.
Seth brings story to people.
Seth word good.
People read because Seth. Seth the teacher. Seth impacting future generations. But not like Natasha with her good work.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really great short story. I, love reading Ambrose Bierce's stuff. It's just like he's very he uses his words well, and
he's very thrifty with them.
With this story, especially, it's not a long story, but he just
it's super precise and controlled.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And it's in line. It's out of that horror book that I've been using getting all these other short stories out of, and so it is horror themed. As you kind of get from the first sentence that guy is.
Yeah, I think that's one of my all-time favorite. I just read this or listened to it, I guess, because I listened to the audiobook of it on YouTube, and it was like a minute 30 or something like that. I mean, it's really short, but amazing and very impactful. Because I actually got the thing from Seth last night about what he was going to do, so I got the YouTube link and proceeded to hear that very first line, and I was like, I'm about to fall asleep. Maybe I don't want to hear this tonight. So that first line was so good it creeped me out enough that I waited till morning to listen to the rest of it. Very good short story. Super racist, perhaps.
Perhaps. There are some descriptions out, in the story of one of the characters that is maybe portrays a, I don't know,
less than flattering
it's a
portrayal of an African American in the South. Which the South seems Ambrose must have been from the South, because that seems to be a recurring thing with his short stories and stuff.
I think he fought in the Civil War too.
Could be. He's from that time period.
Yeah, this was written in 1901 or 1899.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
this is after after Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure. I can look this up in 2 seconds because of. Okay, An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge was written or at least published in 1891.
So this is like...
This one was just 2 years afterwards. I was wrong. This was published in 1893. Okay. So, yeah, closer to that.
But yeah, I didn't realize... I feel like literature teachers really let me down, because they had me read Occurrence at Owl Creek Ridge. Nobody mentions that, this guy writes nothing but horror, and it's all pretty solid, you should check it out. No one mentioned that.
Yeah,
we just moved on to Hemingway or something, I don't remember.
It's just, I think it's, part and due to the time period that he lived in and the turmoil that was associated with that time and all that, but I mean, it's just really impactful, the stories that he tells and the words that he uses to tell them.
Yeah, it's hard to, because we can't go into details without spoiling, because it literally is like a half a page, but it's a very interesting and I feel like modern readers could learn a lot from it, because in the proceedings of like a page and a half, he tells what like on HBO would have taken them like an entire like 8-part miniseries, each episode being an hour to tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Just on the same token, you could read a short story that, is called fucking The Girl That Loved Tom Gordon, and it could be really long, and it could just not draw you in, like this one page of words, and like I love this story. It's fucking. I mean, it's fucked up. That's kind of why I like it.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about this one. Peter, have you ever read any Ambrose Bierce?
I have not. Although if I have, I probably don't remember the author, because I'm awful at that. I like horror. I like horror stories, and I like. Lately, I've been listening to horror audio dramas.
Interesting.
Ooh, like podcast ones?
No, I've listened to some of those, but also this one was by a group out in Britain.
Okay.
It was pretty good. They're called Hammer Chillers, and it was well done.
Nice.
I think as a genre, horror, especially because Lovecraft was such a huge influence on that ever since it struggled with being politically correct in the racial category.
Yeah. Lovecraft has got a whole, complex history with that.
Yeah, I mean, with it, reading any good piece of literature, you just have to keep in mind the time that came from.
Context.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, you bring up, like, Lovecraft. Let's see, radio dramas that I really like that are a lot like this is, there's a podcast by a group called Relic Radio, where they just literally upload, they have this giant vault of all of the, like, CBS and RCA radio shows going back through, like, the oldest one I've ever heard was from, like, 31 or something like that, but they're really cool, and they're these old, like, radio dramas, and some of them are very Twilight Zone twisty and stuff like that, and it's just fun. Some of the older ones are harder to hear, but it's fun, because sometimes they'll leave, like, the old commercial in, like, you could get, like, a 3-bedroom condo in this Florida that's really, like, taking off. They're talking about in, like, the 50s. For, like, $1,200, you could get, like, a 3-bedroom condo on the beach. And, because it was like Fort Lauderdale, or some city was like, well, you've heard of Miami, but have you heard about this Fort Lauderdale, Florida? It's gorgeous. It's just as pretty, and land here is super cheap, Yeah. Because it hadn't developed yet, and yeah. And then they'll leave in, like, the buy war bonds ones from the 1940s and stuff like that. And anyway, Relic Radio is pretty cool, and they break it out into, like, 3 different podcasts. One's called The Horror, and those are the horror stories. And then there's one that's classic science fiction, where it's like, there were a lot of radio plays, and they did them up until, like, the 80s, because every once in a while you'll get one that was, like, this first aired in Canada on radio CBC in 1986 or something like that, and then the sound effects will be much more like you're listening to, like, the audio from an 80s movie, So really cool stuff. Relic Radio, if you Google them, you'll find all their different podcasts for all their different genres. It's pretty cool.
And so I think that does it for this bi-weekly book club. I would like to kind of put a teaser out there for next bi-weekly book club. I'm hoping to use the short story of a local author, and it's just as short as One Summer Night, but maybe better.
Really?
Yeah, I'm actually going to let you read it.
Okay.
I have it here.
Okay.
So, yeah, but, and hopefully, I want to support more local authors, and I fell into this one and saw it, and it's pretty fucking great.
I can't wait to hear about it. That sounds awesome.
Well, you're gonna read it, and you're gonna just. It's a good thing it's afternoon, and you don't have to go to sleep soon.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
And with that. Well, we've got Pete Pischke.
That was a good try. Pischke.
Pisch. He parks the car in Harvard Yard. Pischke.
Pischke.
Pete. So Pete.
Pete works.
How you doing, man?
Oh, pretty good. Nice weather.
Yeah. Absolutely lovely weather for this time of year. I have a friend and I that have a theory that it's like South Dakota, the whole in like a lion, out like a lamb thing is reversed. It's almost always in like a lamb and out like a lion when it's South Dakota. Like, I could be wrong, but it sure seems to be the case. So Pete, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to, because it has been a crazy 3 weeks for you.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, you're one of the people that I felt comfortable communicating with and bouncing ideas off of. Yeah, it has been crazy. I'm one of the 3 amigos that did not get to run for the for the position they wanted to run for on the ballot due to lack of petition signatures. It was myself, Claire Hart, she wanted to run for city council, and David
Zacchitis.
Oh, you know how to say that last name.
I do, because he's been in here like 3 times.
Yeah. And I've met both of them.
And actually, this is Pete's 3rd time in. Son of a bitch.
Like, what?
I am digging a hole. I'm so sorry,
said
Pete.
This man was here twice before, and now you are citing a man that's been here 3 times. I'm sorry, Peter. Don't let Rob take away from
it.
It
is completely fine. I have a terrible memory. I'm awful with names and faces.
Me word bad.
It's awful.
Me memory bad.
So anyway, sorry to just pull away from your story here, but so we had 3 candidates who didn't come up with the signatures. Yeah. Now this is something I wasn't even aware of until I came back to South Dakota, specifically Sioux Falls, because when I ran for office in Minnesota for city council, I literally paid $5, filled out a 1-page form at City Hall, and that was a city of, it's not Sioux Falls size, but it was 60,000 people. I mean, it's not a village, and it was a major suburb of the Twin Cities. But yeah, rounding up signatures in order to even appear on the ballot.
Yeah, it's weird, if it's. I don't totally know why we still have it around. It does benefit those that are connected or have money to pay for it. So you can pay a circulator. You can't pay a circulator by the signature, but the way to get around it is you say, well, you help me get the signatures, unspecified amount, I'll pay you X by the end of the week or the month.
Are you telling me there's loopholes that people take advantage of?
I was going to say, that seems like something where the state of South Dakota wants you to be able to do the unscrupulous thing, but by the same token has to appear to not approve of it, so they just came up with a really arbitrary, God, that's very Byzantine.
It is odd. Like I said, if you're connected, you can get to a group that can all sign for it, fine, or you can pay for it. I don't really have either of those. I knew people that could help me out in signing, but not 200.
And you ran for citywide, so you had to come up with 200 signatures, correct? Because if you're running for just a district, then I think it's 50.
Correct.
But if you want anything like mayor or at-large city council, then it's 200.
Yes. I know that seems like a small amount. For most people at home, 200, yeah, that's nothing. The problem is like I said, you either are connected. So Teresa Stiley is a great example. She had already had the community watch thing going on. She was well known in the city at that point, and so she did great getting the signatures. I mean, I'm not saying that it was easy for her per se. I'm just saying that she was in a state of affairs where it was possible to do that. Whereas if you're relatively unknown, you don't have the advantage. Now, here's the advice. The advice is if you want to get signatures, you go down to the Minnehaha County Admin Building, and you stand in front of it. And as people come in or come out, you ask them to sign your thing. What they don't tell you is that it's very often you will get a signature or less waiting outside that building an hour. And you need 200 of them. And in bad weather, it's especially bad. People generally don't want to talk to strangers on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, let alone sign some document. And so getting those signatures is a hurdle. It's not an impossible hurdle per se for everyone. But for me it was, because I had gotten a terrible sinus infection, then shortly after I had walking pneumonia. And so by the time I was out there, I only had a week to get the signatures. And so I talked with the local GOP guy, Dave Roatman, and asked him, how do people usually go about getting these signatures anyways? And he kind of explained the system to me. There's a guy that circulates petitions, just as kind of like a part-time job. And he was very kind, tried to explain to me, in a good week we could get 50, but he says, I just don't see how we're going to get 200.
So, lots of revelations here, but,
yeah.
So, let me get this straight. Back up a little bit. There is Sioux Falls basically actually supports a signature bounty hunter, basically, who will
Yeah, like I said,
I'll get you your signatures.
You're not allowed to pay them for the amount. You can't say.
Did he have a hook hand and a cigar and an eye patch?
No, he was a very lovely man. His last name is Rose.
Okay. Mr. Rose.
He's a very
Mr.
nice.
Barnes.
No, he was very kind. I mean, he works 2 other part-time jobs. One's he helps people, older folks, get around. I forgot the first one, but I mean, he was a very nice.
The other one is Soldier of Fortune. No.
Yeah, you can't pay them per person on the signature, but they get around that by saying you'll just help them.
If you can fill your quota, I'll pay you at the end of the week X amount.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's mixed. You know, I'm surprised that David, I'm going to call him Z, because I know I expect people to pronounce my name, but I can't seem to pronounce others. David Z, he even
See, Seth, it's not that easy.
I have the same perspective, though. I just realized is that I want everybody to say mine, but I can't say everybody else's. So
I think it's a human thing.
I don't know. I mean, you know, maybe not every human.
I mean, he had a pretty good presence on all, at least.
Get those zombies running scared. That's for sure.
I don't know what I liked it. I like his quirkiness. I appreciate that.
Me too. I mean, that guy was campaigning hard. Because he had the float in the Christmas parade where he was like all decked out in Christmas lights. And I want to say that at last year's 4th of July parade, they weren't allowing candidates, so he just put up a thing that was like "Go Vote" on his float that he registered for it, and he dressed up as the Statue of Liberty. And the Argus leader even was like, "You didn't imagine that? Here's a picture of David Zakaitis dressed up as the Statue of Liberty."
Yeah, I've seen that video.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I think that speaks to how hard it is to get the physical signatures. Because he was, what, 4 short?
Yeah, which is
bizarre.
Insane.
Yeah, I imagine that he got more than 200 signatures, but they check every signature to see if they can connect it to a name and address in Sioux Falls, so that they make sure that every single one of them is a registered voter that's connected to the correct address, correct name. And so what they tell you is to get more than 200. In fact, the more you have, the better, because then you have more
insurance against the city being like, you were 3 short because we threw these 3 out because their voter registration lapsed or some crap like that.
Yeah, it does make you ask certain questions. I don't know if it was, I'm not saying it was dirty or unethical. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's a tough situation. Tougher than people would realize.
And I know you don't want to say that, but I will say that it was... and I don't mean like specifically at you. I just mean the whole like institution of having the signatures, having them have to be like registered, and all this different stuff just to run for office is it's such the establishment wants to keep its order, kind of like it's a gatekeeping mechanism basically. And I think it's bullshit. I think the fact that you can't be on the ballot when you want to and you're a registered voter in this city, I think that's bullshit. But that's my 2 cents on it.
Well, no, I mean, the only thing that really gets me is that South Dakota's kind of alone in this. All the states around us have much easier rules to getting on the ballot. All of them, Iowa, Minnesota, North, all of them.
Like I said,
right in the middle.
Minnesota, it was faster than like a car registration. I mean, it was just ridiculous. You just walked in. I think I filled out 3 lines on a form and paid like $15, and I was on the ballot for city council.
Yeah, and in South Dakota, we can only get ballot signatures between January 26th to February 23rd.
And I've had to explain that to people because people are like, well, why he's been campaigning for a year? Why wasn't he getting signatures? And people are even like, well, he must not have wanted it too bad because he didn't get 200 signatures and he had like a year and a half that he was running. And I was like, no, you have to pick up that official signature sheet and you've got this window. The signatures all have to be collected from January
26th to Feb 23rd.
So less than a
little
month?
Less than a month.
Jesus. Yeah, that's such a like...
Yeah, it's a very bad time of the year to get...
And yeah, it's like the worst time of the year. Yeah, I'm surprised it's just like... And then in order to turn them in, we have this tube that's completely filled with the taunt barbed wire that we're going to need you to crawl through to go into the county clerk's office or whatever, or the city clerk office. And once you've crawled through that, and then we've hosed you down with lemon butter or something that's going to really burn with all those cuts, only then will we review your signatures. I mean,
enter a room with 3 doors, reminiscent of some puzzle Zelda, and you'll have to complete mission or certain activities through each one of these doors, and once you complete that, then you'll go on to the boss, and that's the clerk of courts, and basically they just starts spinning a dial with all these different forms, and you have to throw a knife and hit the right form.
Oh no! I last year with that. Oh no! I know what you're talking about, because last year when they had the petition that was put together, and then the city clerk threw it out because
the city clerk gave them the wrong.
Yeah, gave them the wrong form. Like, wait, what?
Right?
That was your job, though. It's like, why are you? Yeah, that is completely.
And I can even just picture the city employee that did it was just like, oh darn, you've got the wrong form.
Boy, I bet that's gonna be hard to.
I imagine
fix.
Because I've been to the city clerk there. It's run by Thomas Greco, and my interactions with him were very pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
But his staff that work there with him generally have tell me if they don't know something or they aren't sure, that they'll just send it to him, and you'll say, well, come back when he's here, after lunch, and then he'll come and talk to you. So I don't know what exactly happened there, but
yeah, and I don't either. And as far as the complaining about the signature law and stuff like that, obviously, please don't be mean to city employees, because clearly they don't make the laws. I mean, believe me, it's that's on us as voters, because we vote in people to the legislature and to the city council and everywhere else. We vote these terrible people that we're constantly bitching about on Facebook into office. Well, the 10% of us that bother to show up and vote put these people in. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel this is unfair, next time you see someone asking you to sign their petition, don't just like do this, like, I can't see you, therefore you don't exist.
You speak as if you're, like, from experience, like you may have experienced that.
I know, it was many grown adults do that.
Grown adults?
I just kind of was like, yeah, no, it was this. It's like,
Jesus.
I can't see you.
Oh no.
So you stopped existing.
I can imagine the type of Sioux Falls dude that would actually do that, and boy, oh man, they're afraid of people. Afraid of strangers, because they're so scary. Don't be afraid of strangers that are trying to, open your mind to, like, shit that's going on in your city. Stop and have a
He's
chat.
probably trying to legalize the weed or something. Just ignore him.
Well, and if people don't know, signing a petition does not mean you have to therefore vote for the person or the petition you sign.
Yeah. And
That's just getting
but I guess
off
it does
balance.
bear mentioning, since most people apparently don't know that. But yeah, I've signed petitions for things that I didn't agree with, but I'm like, I want to be able to have a say on the ballot about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that sucks, man. So
yeah, no, it does. I had not intended to run till like at the end of December last year, because I was tired of the shenanigans, because list after list of things were just being hidden, and there's not really any logical reason for it not to be known by the public. The Arias, because Joe Sneeve covered it with the train yard, they all of a sudden they reversed their position on that. But I was just tired of the shenanigans going on. It just felt so unethical where the city council, the mayor are right now. I'm really impressed with the work that Teresa Stiley and Pat Starr have done. Stiley in particular, because she consistently stands up for the principles she believes in, even when everyone's making fun of her for it. And I mean, there's not a value or principle I think we want more in our leaders than when they do what they say they're going to do when you vote for them.
yeah, when they make a principled stand, even when it's unpopular.
Damn straight.
So that didn't work out. Wednesday I was despondent and depressed. I was like, okay, so what now? What do I do now? I'm also using my run as my master's project to check that off. I'm in a master's program for journalism at SDSU. And so I was like, okay, so what exactly do I do here for that? But when I was studying up on the Florida shooting, Parkland, which is horrific.
Yeah.
I felt inspired. I was like, maybe you should take a look again to see how many signatures you need to get on school board. I looked it up. It's only 20, which is 1/10 of what I previously had to get. I was like, 20, I could get that. I could call people up I know their signatures would be good and they'd be willing to sign, and I could do that. And so I went out Thursday in the blizzard, went to family, friends, and people I knew from church and other things, asked them to sign, put it in on Friday morning, and there we go. I'm in.
Nice.
So I'm honored for the opportunity to run for school board. I ran for this previously. I hope I've learned some since then. I don't know what else really to say about my new show running. I'm glad that I can run for something, even though I know what that sounds like, because I wasn't just going to run for something that's like, well, I can't get in for that thing, I might as well run for this. It wasn't like that. I really prayed hard on it and studied it out, and it just felt good and right, and then when I felt about doing the other, it didn't feel good, and so I just tried to do what, at best, my conscience said was right. So there you go. I'm sorry for Claire Hart and David Z. Both of them are lovely individuals. Claire Hart's an immigrant. She always brings up points that none of the other candidates bring up. I don't necessarily agree with her ideologically, but as a candidate and a person, she's really nice. And of course, David, I mean, he tried so hard. He has such a good media following of all the candidates. I mean, and hopefully he continues, because he was making...
He brought me brownies at a council meeting. He brought, everyone, at the city council meeting, he brought brownies for everyone.
He is a really nice guy.
Yeah. And I'm, 70% sure it wasn't laced with anything. So.
How you feel? It's all starting to feel really good about it.
No, all kidding aside, no. He's a really nice guy. Had him in here for an interview for South Dakota. And, wish him well. And I'm kind of curious what's going to happen with his... He's been giving, keynote addresses with slideshows and everything at every city council meeting since he announced. And he was kind of doing that beforehand because he was upset with the city about stuff. So I'm curious if he's going to keep that up, because he's like an institution. I mean, he's there every city council meeting talking. So, yeah. We'll have to see where that goes. In the meantime, sir, you are running for the school board. So why don't you enlighten us a little bit? Because I've done a lot of coverage of the city council and city municipal election that's going on, and we'll be doing a lot more. But I'm woefully uninformed on the school board race. When is the vote? Did they sync it up with the city?
It is. It's April 10th.
Good, that'll help.
Yeah, we're really lucky this year. That's a mayoral race, so that should help turn out significantly.
Yep.
Last time I run, it was maybe it wasn't even 10,000 people voted. It was less than that. It's school board is kind of weird. Usually we have lots of people running for school board. Last time I ran, there were 6 people. There are 2 seats that you can, and you get run for them both. So it's however many people are on the ballot, and then the top 2 people
So just the top 2 get taken.
Yes.
Okay.
And so and this year it's only 3. It's me and the 2 incumbents.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I know, which when I realized, I was like, I actually have a shot at this thing. It's
okay. Let's see. Do you know who the incumbents are? I can look this up, too.
Yeah.
But
Todd Thoke and Kate Parker. And Parker is the school board president. She leads, the school board meetings, for example.
So why school board? What in particular? Because I understand your passion about city, municipal government, stuff like that. And I remember we talked about this a little bit when you were a candidate the first time around for this. But refresh our listeners, and then we got a lot of new listeners. Let them know why school, the school board, education, are really important to you.
Okay. Well, I mean, on a personal level, I come from a single parent, and so I was heavily involved with helping my siblings. From the time I was 14 on, I was babysitting pretty much whenever she was working, so it was most nights. And I really love my siblings. I am very proud of them. One's working to become a doctor, another wants to be a lawyer. They're both in college and working on those paths. School is important to me because it's important to everyone. It's part of being an American is that we go through this experience of public education. For better or worse, that's how it is. For many adults, they can say their worst or their best life experiences were in high school. So education has a huge impact. I think a lot of the problems we have right now in society are because of where we came from in our education. A lot of us aren't coming out fully aware, and we never really gained that passion and desire to be aware. I'm interested in education because I have loved ones. I have a niece now, and I have little kid cousins, and they're in the Sioux Falls School District. And I worry about the adults that they're going to become. I worry about, when you're an adult, how informed are you going to be? How much desire are you going to consider different issues? What makes the idea of America great when the founders put it in was the Enlightenment. And it's the same thing when Britain went through its revolution and they instituted the Enlightenment principles. That basically is what we have today. The Enlightenment is the principles of reason above all. It's also about... sorry, I'm going to pull out my notes. So I don't want to get this wrong. I don't want to say something that's there that isn't. All right, here we go. The 3 principles of the Enlightenment are, number 1, reason. So ability to reason and make decisions for yourself. Consider different arguments. The scientific method. You could say if you apply the scientific method to life, there you go. That's reason. Individualism. So the Enlightenment taught us that we are responsible for ourselves and our destination where we end up. And skepticism. Skepticism means that you question everything. Thomas Jefferson, my favorite Jefferson quote is, to question with boldness, even question the very existence of God. For if God exists, he would rather have you bold-faced questioning than something lies. That was a bad paraphrase. You get the idea.
I think that was better than me reading a first line. So
you get the idea. The Enlightenment is important. I think we need to try to bring those principles back into our education. Sioux Falls has the best teachers. The people that work here, for the most part, work here because they love Sioux Falls and they love teaching. It isn't the pay. The pay's gone better, and that's good. There are people that go into teaching because they want a steady income. But generally speaking, if they want a steady income, they wouldn't continue to live here in Sioux Falls as a teacher. Our teachers are great. They continue to perform well. The Sioux Falls School Board found out this week then they were looking at the report on the Literacy in Action program, which meant they would have special literacy teachers that take kids aside and teach them literacy, or how to read, how to enjoy reading. And the stats show that actually the Literacy in Action teachers were a lot worse than the classroom teachers. That the classroom teachers performed a lot better at teaching kids to learn reading. And
wow.
Yeah. And they're killing the Literacy in Action program, which, makes sense.
Yeah, based on what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, Sioux Falls teachers, not to sound corny, rock. They're awesome individuals. I think we should best enable them to do their job as best as they can. These are the reasons why I'm interested in running for the school board. If I'll throw you my boilerplate. What I would do if I was elected to school board points. Okay, so these are practical things I think we can do now. Okay, so my first idea is I want to modernize our school board meetings. They are very wooden. They're very old. Most of what happens on the school board doesn't really happen on the school board meetings, and they kind of just rush through it. And I'm not saying that the school board members necessarily are like this, like the system the way it is. I think it's just how the system is, and they're just going with it.
Yeah, the powdered wigs are a little much.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I think we can modernize it. Let's move it on to be concurrent online, live stream it. I think if we add more public input opportunities, you're only allowed one opportunity in a school board meeting for public input, and it's at the beginning of the meeting. I was late to the school board meeting this week by 2 minutes. By the time I got there, they had already gone through the Pledge of Allegiance and went over public input.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. And that was it. I'm not saying that they purposely don't like public input. That's just how the school boards that we're doing right now were designed.
Engagement is not high, is what you're saying, I think.
Yeah.
Or that's the impression I'm getting.
Well, and it'd be nice if there could be more public input, say, more closer to the time when they're about to vote on an issue, or even at the end of the meeting. I don't think it hurts us at all to allow more public input. I don't think there's very many people who are like, no, public input is wrong.
Oh, they're out
I was going to say,
they're out there.
Apparently at City Hall we have a few that...
Yeah, okay, I take that back. there are some.
Can't remember your name, Dick.
Yeah. But at least at the school board meetings, I think the intentions of everyone there is pretty good. I think this is something we could easily get done. Another thing I like to do, people are really worried right now about school violence. I think school violence is a problem, but I think the school violence is the end outcome. And what fed into it, that algorithm that fed into it, is the mental and emotional well-being of high school students. I mean, I had a terrible time in public school, especially middle school and elementary, and I did not come out with a very positive view of public education at the time. But having someone that cares about you, you feel like you're cared about, you have friends at school, you want to be there, that makes all the difference in the world.
Indeed.
I think we need to work at trying to help students to have a good emotional and mental well-being. We need to, and that includes people who are, and I use this because people easily understand what I'm saying, the bullies and the bullied, but everyone in between. If someone's having a hard time and the teacher knows about it, the teacher should be able to work with them or report them, to get them help and insight they need. What happens if the guy at the Parkland shooting, if he had gotten help, years before, after his parents had died, and in fact, he did get help, but then he stopped once he became an adult. He didn't continue on. If we could prevent more of these disasters and these disastrous adulthoods that come from poor childhoods, give people just a helping hand. Imagine what good we could do. I think that's, I think that's the best way to go about dealing with school violence. I think having resource officers involved, like we already do in Sioux Falls. We have at least 12, is it 12 or 14 school resource officers?
I think Kenny said 14 when he was in here.
Yeah.
Last week.
Last week?
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
On the 100th episode.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, I mean, resource officers are important, because they not only are they armed, but they're trained and they're ready, and they get involved with classes and help people to feel more comfortable with police and be able to see things from their point of view. I think that does a lot to ease people's tensions when dealing with the police, if they have a sense that they're people too, instead of the scary guy in the blue shirt that pulls you over if you drive too fast.
Yeah.
I guess the last thing I could say we could do right now is, and some classes do this already, but at high school, if we could record our class lectures and put them online, this could be used for study review, and this could also be used if you're absent due to sick. I mean, I don't know how many of you realize, at the moment, how much, especially at the high school level, but middle school too, how much homework is involved online with online discussion. And online, they want you to do something called active content versus passive content. So passive content is just watching something, but active is engaging, where you write back and forth on a topic. I think providing lectures would only help the school. It's easy to do already. We have most of the infrastructure in the schools already. And those are the 3 major things I would do.
Excellent.
And it wasn't the most concise way of going about it, but I think that was a pretty thorough explanation. If you guys have any questions or anything, I'm happy to answer them. If you liked any of what I said here today, you can please go to my GoFundMe page and donate $3, or just chat with me online. I'm on Facebook. I am putting up my website now. I need some work. I'm a one-man crew, so everything that comes out of this campaign was me doing it. I'm sure Robert knows exactly what that feels like.
Oh yeah, I might be familiar with that feeling.
He is.
Yep.
I'm witness to that. I stand by.
So, my listener questions are more like city council and mayor based, but why specifically over the other 2 candidates should somebody, consider you for the school board?
Okay, good question. I don't have anything particular against Todd Thoke or Kate Parker. They're fine individuals. Both have served at least 2 terms. I would like the chance to be able to serve our school district because I want the opportunity to serve, and frankly, I just think I'll do a dang good job. I know that is a strong argument. If you want to get on more partisan terms, I'm a conservative. I lean libertarian on many issues, but I'm essentially a through and through conservative. There aren't that many on the school board. If you vote for me, you're just voting more towards what we did last year with Mickelson. I like Mickelson a lot. I think she has a lot of good ideas. Her emphasis on preparing people for the workplace isn't necessarily a bad idea. I do support that, though. I also believe an education should make a well-rounded individual that when they get out of high school, that they can reason and make decisions for themselves. That's basically it. If you want a conservative, if you want something different, if you just, think I'm better looking than the other candidates, please vote for me.
Seth, do you have anything you want to put in there?
I just would like to point out that you're probably much younger than both of those other two, right?
Yeah, I don't know Kate Parker's age. Todd Thoke is 55. I know that because that's what the article I read said. They both have, Kate Parker was saying that she has kids in middle school.
Okay. Well, but,
So I'm saying 30s or 40s would be my guess, but I don't know. Not that it's that...
I'm just trying to, hopefully we get... Hopefully much more, or many more people go out to vote, and hopefully there's a good number of younger people that go out to vote. And I think that, we should rally around the people that are closer to our generation to lead us into the future. And so that was all I was going to kind of note with that, is that let's vote these, younger go-getters.
These young go-getters with fresh ideas.
Fresh ideas.
Fresh young squad with everything to prove.
Well, and one of the advantages of voting in fresh blood is that it does shake up the system a little bit. It does remind those that are there in power, like, hey, this isn't necessarily a day job. You were hired for this by the people. You were elected to this office, and reminding people that is important. It's we need to make sure that the public eye is there, and that people are reminded that this is you're doing something on the behest of the people, and that requires that you be honest and open. So at the very least, hopefully this election will help remind our school board members that, as it is right now, reminding our city council members.
The Sioux Empire Podcast proudly presents this week's Shameless Plugs.
So, Pete, if you remember the drill with these, this is the part of the show where, you've kind of listed it already, but you can go ahead and if there are there any forums or debates or anything like that coming up with this, or how can people learn more about your campaign?
Okay, if you want to learn more about my campaign, you can go to Pischke, Pischke, SF.com, or you can go to my Facebook page, which is Pischke for Sioux Falls School Board. That one's probably easier to find. Lastly, I have a GoFundMe page, which I've raised $620-something this week, which I'm pretty happy with. I needed the money to order stuff. I have a very little resource on my own to do it, so that donation helps a lot. If you don't want to donate, but you do want to help, I appreciate all the help I can get. Part of this running for office, especially in Sioux Falls, is that if you want to win something, you have to knock on the doors. It's an organic thing. It seems to connect with people much more than anything else. As David Roteman told me just recently, if you want to win, you got to knock the doors. So if you want to come and help me knock some doors and give a 2-minute splurb about why you should vote for me, I'd be happy to hang out with you. You can contact me on my Facebook page or website if you'd be interested in that. That's pretty much for my shameless plugs. Our forums, no forums have been made known to me, but I know one is coming up at the very least for the school board. But can I tell you what date that is? I cannot.
Okay. Cool. Well, let me know, and I'll make sure it gets out on the SiouxEmpire.com.
Yeah, and vote April 10th.
Yes.
Vote.
Please vote.
Figure it out.
For the love of God, vote.
If you move to a different apartment, make sure that you're registered for the correct place. All that stuff is really important. You can't wait till the last second. Don't put it off. Have some urgency about this because it matters.
If you feel like you want to itch and complain about what's going on in the city, you have no stance to just stand in if you don't vote. because you had a chance to perhaps change things and you pushed it aside and ignored it.
You forgo your only opportunity, true opportunity in this democracy to make a difference if you don't vote. And so April 10th, get out there, vote for who aligns with your ideals and who you think will do the best job. For me, that's going to be the younger people that are running, just because I'm done with...
It's time.
I'm done with the 40 and up generation. It's time for everything else. Everyone, get these younger folks in here. And then, because we want the younger people to stay in South Dakota, let's pass the reins over to the people that have that perspective and are most rooted in that reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a shameless plug this week?
Well, Peter Pischke, thank you for coming on to our 101 episode.
I'm honored to be here. I love it. You guys are so much fun. So I've always enjoyed coming here and visiting.
Awesome. And
excellent.
What else? It's probably going to have to be all the great work that Natasha does spreading the good word.
Yeah, I really feel like she needs some recognition for that.
She's
going to kill us.
Just the biggest, the thing that's really sucking my time is Monster Quest. Shameless plug to that.
I've heard really good things about that.
It's pretty dope. It's a mass multiplayer
Monster Hunter World?
Yes.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter World. It's a lot of fun. My girlfriend and I got her the game. She got me the game, and so we've been fighting and killing some dinosaurs together.
Working out other issues and stuff like that with violence.
Yeah, well, you gotta have violence to work things out, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, not after this episode. I don't want to have that message.
Yeah.
Rob, that's your shameless plug. Hopefully not violence.
Yeah, my shameless plug is not violence. My shameless plug is an upcoming podcast that I'm working very hard on that is a paranormal and supernatural investigations podcast. I am doing that with Ari Show over from Chaos Reigns, and Ari Show, forgive me, and with Travis Nye, the magician, and the three of us are exploring some of the strange history, paranormal phenomena, bizarre stories, just, whatever mysterious crap I can get my hands on. I'll put it this way, my Word document filled with topics that we could do episodes on that I've already done research on over the years, because this is a passion project for me. I'm super excited about it. That document is now 12 pages long, and it's just literally one sentence per topic. Yeah.
Do you have on there creepy sounds, like sounds that, kind of... like the Halloween, have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about just auditory creepy?
There's at least 3 or 4 topics that are auditory based.
Ooh.
Because there's the bloop, the legendary bloop, that was detected by, there's listening stations all over the ocean because they try to pinpoint submarines and stuff like that.
Yep.
That's how you hunt submarines, is by listening to the ocean. And anyway, you've got all these experts that are listening with all these high-powered spy microphones and stuff like that, and Russia has it and America has it, and we spy on each other with it. And at some point, I want to say it was in the late 80s, there was a gigantic bloop noise that went out uniformly all across all the world's oceans, on blast, 10 times higher than any other signal they've ever received before. We have no idea what caused it or where it came from or anything, but it was worldwide. It was everybody, both submarine commands were going crazy, and yeah.
So is this podcast going to be, is it going to be more like lore in that you're going to be telling stories, or is it going to be you're actually physically going to locations?
Well, since a lot of the locations are all over the world, it's kind of a mix of lore and astonishing legends, where it's I'm telling the story, but we're investigating it, and we'll tell you about some of the sources, and if we can get someone on to interview them, we will. Let's see, because it's I'm the historian in the group. Travis Nye is the magician and skeptic who's gonna kind of try to debunk it and stuff. He's kind of doing the Magician Among the Spirits thing that Houdini did, where he was like going after we talk about this in the first
spiritualism.
episode. Yeah, go after spiritualism and like the Fox sisters and famous stuff like that. We'll do a whole episode about that. But yeah, that's kind of the theme with Travis being there, and then Ari is there as she's actually a registered now and has received training as a medium. And so we've been.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
You have to get registered for that.
well,
We don't want any unlicensed mediums going around.
See, you love it because it's like I bring the obscure history like the Bloop or like the Portal to Hell Castle in Hungary or whatever, and Travis is bringing the magician skepticism and how he would do it if he was trying to trick someone to into like doing it, or how you could go about it, and then Ari brings the a much more. She's skeptical too, but she's probably more of a believer than like I am or Travis is. It's kind of I super want to believe in stuff like that, but I'm super skeptical because I feel like you get burned like every time. So when I encounter something like that, I want to just pull it apart and be like, if it's a fake, I want to dismiss it as a fake immediately and find like what's really going on. But I'd love to find something where I can't. Once I pull it apart, I just go, oh shit, okay, it goes deeper. It goes deep. Whoa, okay, there's way more here going on than I ever imagined. And there's stuff like that, and those tend to be the topics we're going to cover.
Your poster on Fox Mulder's wall.
Yeah, exactly. I want to believe.
Word.
Well, that'll do it this week for the Sioux Empire podcast. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I hope we didn't creep you out too badly. Thank you, Pete, for being on the show, and we really hope you make it out of the school board so you can tell us all about the experience.
Yeah, no, thank you. I thank you for letting me be here and spreading the word.
Absolutely, and
like
we will.
Natasha does.
And we'll include a link to both your Facebook and your GoFundMe and your site on the show notes there, so people can check that out at theSiouxEmpire.com. All those links will be provided there. If you like the work that we're doing here at the Sioux Empire Podcast to bring you local news and what's going on in your community, be sure to check out theSiouxEmpire.com and be sure to thank our sponsors. And if you really want to support us on Patreon, we're going to be adding some new incentives and gifts for different levels and things like that. We're going to be revising and kind of revitalizing the Patreon page, so be sure to check that out. And you can find a link to that at theSiouxEmpire.com. Thanks for joining us this week, everyone, and we will see you next week.
Have a good week, stay warm, and support us on Patreon.